Att vara macho för mig.
Aggressiv.
Jag förväntas vara en stark person.
Att man inte vågar visa vem man själv är.
Vi ska gråta, vi ska visa oss sårbara och vi ska bli en hjälp.
Macho men. Macho white men, the true bane of the contemporary feminist and the male feminist allies. Masculinity in general is attacked in the Western world and definitely in Sweden. But if you want to get the feminist men to really get up in your face, mention macho men and watch them splutter with rage. Nothing infuriates these people more than a big, white, confident man who is secure in his masculinity and just loves to be loud, proud, and giving zero fucks about what anybody thinks about it. So they're problematic. In Sweden, men with a large amount of machismo are the undeniable nemesis of everything that third-wave feminists and media and pop culture are trying to achieve, so naturally I'm a fan. But there's a caveat I'm forced to add regarding this type of masculine chauvinism, and it's about confidence. Men who lack confidence yet flaunt their alleged masculinity always fail. Badly. Nothing is more cringe-inducing than an insecure man who lacks discipline, honor, respect, and social skills, strutting around and expecting anybody to give a crap. They become a parody of a man.
Douchebag of the year!
But that, sadly, is not the type of macho that is being attacked. Macho men are what pretty much all men in Sweden are being called, who enjoy being men, who enjoy typically male activities like fishing, hunting, working on cars, things like that. They're also seen as a problem and are often mercilessly ridiculed on TV shows, radio programs, and by celebrities. Men who don't fear confrontation and stand up for himself are viewed as macho. The ideal man in Sweden in 2020 is aware of his privilege as a white male, has an acute consciousness about his own emotions, is all too eager to talk about these emotions, but also is a good listener and knows when to stand back and allow the women to control the conversation, which is always. He shouldn't feel a need to assert himself upon being confronted, but is still expected to be a valiant knight who never fails to come to the rescue of a woman in distress, but not too much, because then he might risk victimizing her. He's expected to take his own masculinity, the little that he has, under a microscope and then scrutinize it constantly. And the starting point for this self-reflection when it comes to your masculinity is always that, as a man, there is something fundamentally wrong with you. And this behavior is somehow supposed to be both healthy and progress us collectively further into a more equal and harmonious future. In theory. Now, weak men who believe that giving in to the wants and wishes of unbearable feminist women not only become irritable and frustrated people, they often, in some tragic display of Stockholm Syndrome, become even more fanatic than the hags that are holding on to their leashes. This is shown most clearly when these emasculated men mock and attack so-called macho men for not also crawling on the floor together with them. And this is fascinating to me. How come severely emasculated and psychologically neutered men, primarily being white, believe themselves to be in any kind of position which would allow them to maintain any form of credibility when it comes to them lecturing other men on how they should act as men? Because what would they even know about being a man? The people who have willfully retarded themselves into the mental and sexual state of boys for the amusement of misandrist women. These men, I'm using the word generously here, these men keep popping up in TV, on radio shows, debate panels, and in magazines, where they're handed a microphone or a pen and paper so that they can, as one of the guys, preach to actual men about how they should walk, talk, think, and act. As if they would know, as if they have a clue. And the part which really blows my mind, and is the reason why I wanted to talk about this with you, is how self-destructive they are, these men. This ridiculing of masculine men by effeminate pixie queens is only possible to do in highly developed safe societies, safe countries. It's ironically a form of privilege. Only in safe countries are you free to attack and mock the people who will, if the shit hits the fan, be the ones that will save you from harm. The emasculated men's feminist girlfriends don't get this either. I'm here going to address them personally. You can be in a relationship with a sit-pissing wuss who proudly labels himself as a pacifist feminist citizen of the world, and who obediently makes you a cup of herbal tea while listening as you in an act of defiance against imagined past personal injustices read passages from the feminine mystique out loud while sitting on the window pane in your one-room apartment in our capital city. You could do that, but then also know that this tea-serving, housebroken, patient listener is the man that is between you and the burglar who breaks in, rapes you bloody, while forcing Mr. Perfect here to watch. Because that's what's gonna happen if you didn't live in a country where you can just dial 911 and call for help from those who in the vast majority of the cases will be big, strong, white men who have guns and are not afraid of a fight. With other words, macho and toxic men. They are your guardians, not your sensitive pigging enthusiast. So when it really comes down to it, all of your gender studies feminist bullshit just hits the cold concrete wall of reality. Ridiculing masculinity and hating the men who embrace it is a privilege that is afforded to you due to a kind of safety and stability which would be impossible to achieve without them. That sucks, doesn't it? You trying to disconnect yourself from a biologically programmed symbiotic relationship between male and female, and after all of your hard work, all of your studying, all of your student loans, you're only forced to see even more clearly how dependent you are on these men. The macho, big, burly white man who never backs down from a fight, even when it comes to protecting ungrateful misandrists like yourself. Women in the most conflict-ridden parts of Africa are not exactly eager to sneer or make fun of the big guys with guns guarding their villages against nightly raids from roaming bandits of bloodthirsty militias. It's primarily white, Western feminist women who have the privilege to do so. I think this tragedy can be traced back to some women having a completely non-existent understanding of men. Feminist women often say that men are simple, but based upon these females' failure with understanding even the most fundamental parts of male behavior, I would drop that claim like one of their dead cats. Disciplined but violent men who give in to one of their most primal instincts, which is to protect women and children, is what keeps you safe. And I pray for your sake, Miss Misandrist ridiculer of masculinity, that macho men do not evolve and begin to question their roles as men. Because the men who drink, spit, swear, enjoy the sight of a nice ass from afar, they're your lifeline, despite any perceived flaws. They give in to our natural affinity for the inanimate, cogs, wires, engines, circuits, all of that which keeps our cities pumping. You mock them from the comfort of your student condo paid for by mom and dad, but when your plumbing clogs up and shit and hair starts flooding your apartment, you just can't wait until one of them comes knocking on your door. You see the hypocrisy there? And this dependency doesn't just go one way, female to male, goes the other way as well. I remain firm in my belief that no one resents women more than the modern feminist. Womanhood and femininity is viewed only as a weakness, characteristics without merit. Very few sane men think that if only women were more like men, then perhaps they would be worth something. In fact, a lot of the greatest aspects of women is how different they are from men. And by devaluing these differences and reducing women to only being potentially like men, frustration and resentment will arise from the inevitable failures of the self-hating woman at this task. So the result is bitter women attacking masculinity and men embracing the core of what they will never be. Misandry and the mocking of masculinity stems from a character flaw within the modern feminist, so pity them, and instead support women who embrace their femininity and are comfortable with the role of lover, wife, mother, and life partner, an equal half in the entirety of life. That is healthy. That's a healthy relationship between the genders. Thank you for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. Like and subscribe if you thought this was interesting. I'm going to upload a new video soon, and I'll see you then.